Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to Being on Stage, the only podcast that gives you motivation, inspiration, and confidence to be better on stage. No matter how you entertain, sing, dance, band, comedian, public speaking, MC, drag, burlesque, performance art, or street performer, this is the show for you. Hey rock stars, Reggie Dawson, your host of the Being on Stage podcast. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Have you ever had one of those performances where someone comes up to you and kind of asks you a little bit about what it means? It could be a performance or a song or anything like that. Or even more so when someone tries to tell you what your performance means, you know? There was a time, and I'll be the first to own it, there was a time that used to really upset me when someone would approach me and tell me what my performance was about. And for a while, I mean, it upset me for a while. There was a good bit of time where I actually got into a little bit of an argument with somebody one time about what one of my performances mean, because they tried to tell me it meant one thing, and I very, very clearly meant it to be, well, in my opinion, it was clear, but I intended another meaning, a very different meaning with it. And it became defensive, and it was just outright, like, they would tell me, well, I shouldn't have done this if it meant that, and, they scrutinized every bit of my performance, because all of a sudden, it didn't mean what they thought it meant, and I was kind of like, it was almost like I was trying to take something away from them, I think is how it was viewed. And what I've noticed is, there are other performers out there that do this, and I've witnessed it. No one's done it quite as bad as I have. I mean, listen, backing up, again, my name is Reggie Dawson. I host the Being on Stage podcast. I'm a stage performance coach. I help performers of all genres and all levels take their talent, turn it into this performance, put it out on stage in front of an audience, and give their audience and just an amazing, amazing experience. And I help get you there. I help get you more connected to your audience, offline. I mean, we work online as well, and get you moving towards that dream of ... whatever, insert your dream here. Boom. But I listen, I'll tell you, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. When I was performing, I did a slew of different styles of performance. But when I was performing, I've made a lot of mistakes. You know, I've backstabbed people. I've been the cause of drama. I've had drama brought to me. I've, cast people out when I should have pulled them closer. I've made wrong decisions. I've supported the wrong person. I followed the wrong people. I allowed the wrong people to mentor. Like, I've made the mistakes. And one of the mistakes I made was I used to kind of argue with my audience. I mean, and about some things, and the meaning of my performances was one of them. And that one time I was talking about when I actually got into a full-fledged argument with somebody, there wasn't a whole lot of people around. Like, it wasn't like this huge on-stage throwdown of performer and audience member. It wasn't nearly as glamorous as it sounds, but it was after the club had shut down. We were outside, and that's something that we did. We would just hang out outside the club after it shut down till like 2:30 in the morning, and then we go to Denny's until like 4, and then we'd go somewhere else to party until like 6. It was a crazy lifestyle that I used to lead. And this time when I actually argued, it was after the club. There was probably like 10 people around, and some people would get on my side, and some people started questioning on their side, and it really took a night, which honestly it was a great performance, but it really took the night and just turned it completely. And again, it does not have to be that bad, but I think a lot of times what we do as performers is we feel the need to defend or to explain our creative process and what we were thinking and what we intended this to mean. And listen, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be an interpretation of someone else's music. It could be a dance. It could be your own music. It could be your own any type of act, really. Your own comedy, your own magic, and anything. But the meaning that you put into it's not always going to connect directly with every audience member. So here's my solution. Like the solution that I found, and I've read about, and I've found that a lot of other, higher caliber than me performers have done this, and I want you to do this too. You kind of have to let your performance mean whatever your audience wants it to mean. Of course, there's limitations. If they're taking it to a bad place that really paints you in a negative light, you may want to just take someone aside, and you may just want to explain, like, listen, I can see where you get that, but I do need you to know that's not at all what this was intending to be. You know what I'm talking about, the terrible ones, the terrible things that, people do in this world. If anyone takes your performance to that level or like morally wrong, of course, explain yourself at that point, but otherwise, don't explain yourself. Let it go. You have to recognize when someone gets that meaning from your performance, they are inspired. You know what it feels like to be inspired. You're a performer. You have to get inspired all the time. So this is someone being inspired by you and by what you're putting out and what you can do. You are being the inspiration to someone else. You have to let them be inspired by you. Yeah, I know. At sometimes you don't feel like you deserve their inspiration, but you have it. So tough crap. You have it. So, but you have to let them have that inspiration from your performance, and let it mean what it means to them. That's some of the best performances, some of the best music, some of the best dances, some of the best performances across all genres have been created when the artist allows the audience to interpret their own meaning and to be inspired. And it is those performances and those shows that the audience connects with that, creates that momentum for the artist. So when your audience is connected enough to pull a meaning that that's personal to them out of your performance, let them have it. Just let them have it. You don't have to explain what you meant it to be. So you have the creative process, okay? Your inspiration happens during your creative process. You dream up this performance, you visualize it in your head, you start building it piece by piece and planning it out and figuring out how you're going to do certain things and what you're going to wear and where you're going to stand, and you put together this entire performance because of that vision, that meaning, and that inspiration that you have. The art, the vision, the creative process, 100% about you. 100%. That is all you, my friend. All about you. All about the performer. The performance, once you step on stage in front of the audience, it becomes about them. It becomes about what it means to them, how it connects to them. Don't ever, and this is, I know I sound like a parent. Well, I am a parent. I got a parent of a teenager, actually, so how about them apples? If you've been listening for a while, you already know I got a 14-year-old that we homeschool, but 14-year-old. So don't ever, and I'm being parental. Don't force your vision and your meaning on the audience. Let them have their own. That's what's going to make you a great performer, by the way, is there's two pieces of this. One, it makes you a great performer that someone is able to take a meaning, that someone's able to take that something personal to them is connecting to that something personal in your show. And you may do an entire performance about, I have a great example. And yes, it's music. I always refer to music. It's easy to explain music on a podcast. A great example. So my wife was actually, and I know I'm like 2 decades too late. I know that I'm young. I apologize. But I just now recently learned the meaning to the song Runaway Train by, don't quote me, Soul Asylum, maybe? I don't know. Don't quote me. Runaway Train. If you know the song, you have to know the song. And the meaning of the song, I guess, is actually it's about runaways and the terrible things that happen to them after they run away and go missing. But what people have interpreted that song to mean There's some people that have interpreted it as empowerment. There's some people that have interpreted it as a song of strength. Some people have interpreted it as, finding missing children. And all those interpretations are 100% wrong, but you never see it come out and until you watch the video. Once you watch the video, you're like, oh, okay, I got it. But if you just hear the song, you can take different meanings from that song. You can take something it is personal to you out of that song. And that artist that created that song has let that happen. They've allowed it. They've allowed people to take all their meanings. So it may not be the actual meaning of your performance that someone is taking away. But why is that a bad thing? They're still inspired. They're still finding a connection to you as the performer. Isn't that what we want? Isn't the connection with the audience that thing that we crave when we're on stage? Isn't that why we step on stage as performers? Like that little bit of, they like me, they really like me. No, I mean, in all honesty, listen. I'm going to give you both sides. I'm going to tell you about my mistakes, but I'm also going to tell you I was an egotistical one also, and it feels really good to have an audience like you. And if you want to keep that audience and, let them interpret your performances. It's not about, not sharing real. It's not about not sharing raw. It's not about, it's just about letting them be inspired in their own way. There's going to be times when you want to explain something. There's going to be times when you want to let them in on what you're feeling and what your creative process is. And at times, that's okay. But not all the time. Not 100%. Maybe like 1% of the time. Not 100% of the time. Ever. Ever. Don't ever do this. Don't ever. Oh, man. I'm feeling good. Feeling really good. So, and listen, I offer the same to you. You take what you want out of this podcast, but I'll tell you this. If you ever want to work together, hit me up. You can actually just jump on my calendar. Go to beingonstage.com/calendar and put in your name, your email, pick a date, pick a time, and let's chat it up. Let's work on your thing. Let's get you moving forward and connecting with your audience. And, yeah. Wouldn't it be great? Like, wouldn't that be awesome to get to that point where you know that you're inspiring your audience and you have your meaning and your vision and they have their meaning and their vision, and the fact that you get to come together and share in the moment and just have different experiences but the same experience at the same time. It really sounds like explaining a type of drug when you try to explain the feeling of performing on stage. And I guess in a way it kind of is like a drug, but it's who we are. We are performers. Take us or leave us. Keep on shining.